Hey you, I'm the Queen of Shade. Welcome to the interview. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit my Cash App to support your favorite content creator. Now let's get to the interview. Mwah.
Let me tell you something. You're a bougie bitch and your mama is too. Said you're a bougie bitch and your mama is too. You're a bougie bitch and your mama is too. Said you're a bougie bitch and your mama is too.
Salutations, Dufos. This is your fabulous leader, the Queen of Shade, coming at you with another special presentation. I'm moving full speed ahead and I'm loving the conversations that I'm having with all of you guys. They're not really interviews. I say interview kind of as to get your mind kind of in that place, but then we talk and we grow and we learn about each other and from each other. And it's just going so well that I'm continuing to do it. And having said all of that, I have someone very special. You need to meet who you probably already know. But anyway, let's go through it. So he's a recording artist. He's an actor, a model. He has a album out right now. It's called Fornication Under Consent of the King, or Fuck. Right now, this is old, but on iTunes, he hit top 10 hip hop albums. He was in the top 10. And overall, for all genres, his album was number 64. So without further ado, I bring to you King David.
Hello, my love.
Hello.
How are you? You look great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So do you. I'm surprised though, because that's what I get when I say, oh, I want to interview you, because then everybody comes all buttoned up.
Yeah.
We didn't get but they'll get it from the thumbnail. That's why I wanted the thumbnail. I was talking to you beforehand, like, this is blurry. I need to, because King David, what you guys can't see, but you'll see from the thumbnail and from his page, social media and things like that. He is an avid fitness enthusiast, and he is very fearfully and wonderfully made. And
well, thank you.
That's all we're gonna say on that. So anyway, how are you? Because the last time I spoke to you, twice we had to postpone. First time something happened and it was personal. Second time you were not playing. You were like, listen, Mercury is in retrograde and I'm not doing
I wasn't doing it.
You were like, I'm not doing shit until this retrograde is over.
Listen, I had to respect the universe. The universe spoke and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna listen. There's too much happening. I don't want to communicate during retrograde and say what I don't mean and mean what I don't say, So here we are.
But what I love is, guys, he literally made me wait until retrograde was over. He was not playing any games. He was like, listen. So I waited. Like, I looked it up. I'm like, February 3rd, it's over. So I'm going to hit him February 4th.
So what I said, ready to go.
You sure did. Oh my God. It's a pleasure to have you here. I have watched you since before I knew what my destiny and what my purpose was. On Instagram, I kind of started where I was showcasing Black and Latin men, beautiful, fit, athletic Black and Latin men. And of course, seeing you, I laced you on into my post. So I always admired your fitness. I always admired your drive, because it takes a lot, first of all, to be committed to physical fitness. And I watched you as things happen or life happened, and you're like, listen, we lost a little bit of our mass, but we're going to get it back. Like I watched you. It wasn't just something where it was easy, like because that's what people don't understand. Like, it's great, you can go to the gym 5 times a day if you want to, but if you're living life, there are going to be things that get in the way of that, and you're going to have to make accommodations. And I love you because I watched that. Like, quite frankly, I was like, I don't see any change. It looks great. It looks great. But you knew, and you're like, no, I want to get this better. I want this better. I want that better. Yeah. And you stayed very focused on doing that. And that's not, I'm jumping now, because it's not just your fitness. I then started following you on Facebook, and you give, oh my God, the talks. I remember the first talk I heard, and I'm just going to remember and talk about it. It was about, people that are in the community of the LGBT community. And you were talking about, masculinity and femininity and, but more so how a young man, a young person identifying with whichever way they identified, how they would go about, showing up in the world. And I flipped. I flipped so hard that I literally created a page on my website and literally put your picture up there, said who you were, and then slapped the YouTube video up there, because I was like, all these people that need these questions answered, why this, why that, this man has the answers. And you have never, since that moment, you have never ceased to amaze me with what comes out of that mind. What comes out, like you're very, very, very intelligent. And I already know your sign, you're a Gemini. And that's where it comes from. My brother, he's in the other room. My brother is a Gemini, and just
really,
yes, that like my baby brother, he's 4 years younger than I am, and I love my baby brother. He's here with me because he fell on some hard times. We don't have the same father, and his father died, and it just kind of set him.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It set him off, and he had to come out of the military, and it just was a lot of things. So he's here getting himself, he's been here a year, and he's just getting himself together. But one thing I love about him is when we talk, I'm a Libra, when we talk, it's a meeting of the minds, that air sign connection. Cardinal sign. So it's so amazing. So I love to watch when I see you live on Facebook, I chime right in, because I'm just like, this is going to be good. I have never seen a live of yours, a video of yours where I did not get what I needed. And that's a lot, to say about a person.
That makes me happy.
Yeah. You always, it's something that people say about me. You know what to say, and you know how to say it. You know when to say it. And it's remarkable to watch. It is remarkable to watch. And I'm I'm going down the line. And then there's this music.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember the first music video I saw of you, and I'm like, you just are so prolific. You're extremely prolific with everything that you do. And I want them to know, before I start asking questions or we start conversating, I want them to understand that, to me, this is an honor. Because I remember when I started, and I remember watching, and then I find my destiny. I find my purpose that no one can do, no one can fulfill. And I believe that about all people. We have a destiny and a purpose that no one else can fulfill. And, it's sad, because some people spend their life, focused on other people's purposes, other people's destinies. And then they go to their grave with a destiny unfulfilled, a purpose unfulfilled. So when I see people like you, I couldn't wait to bring you on to give you your flowers and champagne showers, like order shrimp and lobster. Okay. But anyway, but seriously, because you change lives, and everything that you do, you have all of us. We all support you. We all connect with you. We all feel you. We all understand you. And I just want you to know that, now that I'm able to use this platform that I have built, I need you to know, all right, Spirit, leave me alone. I need you to know that everything you're doing, nothing that you are doing is in vain. I need you to understand that nothing that you're doing is a waste of time. It just so happens with people like you, and even people like I, when you get more, all right, the goosebumps are having, that Spirit letting me know. When you get more of the lion's share, it just takes longer. It takes longer. That's all. And timing has to be absolutely unequivocally correct. And that's what's happening in my life and in yours. And I see, like, you see those flashes of greatness. And then it's like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, close to the time. It's got to be the right time. It's got to be the right time. And I'm watching you just glow. You're glowing. So now that I have just gushed over you for the first,
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Now that I have gushed over you for the first 5 to 7 minutes of this interview,
Yes.
we can talk now.
Let's talk.
So tell us all, where are you from? Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
So I am from Philadelphia, PA. That is where I grew up. West Philadelphia, born and raised. On the playground is where I spend most of my days. Yeah. So yeah, I lived there until 2018. I mean, I had like light moves, like living in New York lightly.
Okay.
But my first official move wasn't until 2018. So now I'm in Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
And how's Atlanta treating you? Do you like it?
I love Atlanta. I love the energy here. You know, some places you go, it just make you feel a certain way. You want to start texting people back. You ain't text back. You know, you just feeling good, you know? So Atlanta's like that place for me.
That, you know what, that is so amazing. I didn't have a really good experience. I was there recording my album in 2018. And that's funny, you moved there in 2018. I was recording my album in 2018 and I caught the pollen. I have really bad allergies and hay fever, and I caught an upper respiratory infection.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but literally, I'm a professional, as you are, consummate. So I recorded that whole album with an upper respiratory infection. I sang around.
Come on.
Yeah, I sang around it.
And you would never know. You know one of my favorite songs?
What?
I'm so stoic. That's my song. It's on my gym playlist and everything. Listen. Oh, that's such a vibe.
You know what's so crazy? That was the first song that made me international.
Yeah.
I literally had, let me get her name right. What's her first name? Her last name is Lassiter. She was the editor. She was the daughter of a really big newspaper in the UK. And what happened was she was having some rough times in her life. And she, through the internet, started watching me. And she actually told her father, and her father wrote a manifesto on me and talked about how his daughter was having a really rough time in her life. There had been some suicide attempts. There had been a lot of things, and that she found her strength and her confidence in listening to me. And then she said her favorite song was Stoic. And you know, all those UK readers, I didn't even know, David, about the King. I didn't even know about the manifesto until people started coming to my social media, like, I'm here because of the manifesto. And I'm like, well, somebody please tell me what the hell y'all talking about. I welcome you. And they're like, oh, you didn't see the newspaper? And I'm like, what newspaper? They're like, the London Examiner. And I'm like, oh, and there it was. Wow. I'll never forget reading it. They mentioned my grandmother. They gave her
such a moment.
It was my first moment where I was like, I'm being covered, and I didn't have to solicit. Like, I didn't have to ask. Like, and I remember, I'll never forget my grandmother. They talked about her. And the first line of that manifesto is, they defined what shade is supposed to be, and then talked about what I was doing. And then they mentioned my song Stoic. And like in the article, they were like, the Stoic singer. And it's
awesome.
It just literally, I started getting, I thought I was being sued. I did, David.
Why you thought you were being sued?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because what happens is, you know, you're an independent artist, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm an independent artist. So, you know, we create, we copyright, we make sure everything is good before we put out our work. Then we go to our online digital distributors. You know, there's a process to this. So Stoic is mentioned overseas. And then I start getting all of these, they were green papers from Spotify, from Shazam, from all the digital streaming platforms. And I open them up and I don't understand the logo, the jargon. I don't understand what they're saying. They're asking me for mechanical licenses for my music. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not giving nobody no license to nothing. This is mine. And I didn't know what was going on. And I called my lawyer, Marcus DeBudio, that is his name, out of Fresno, California, entertainment lawyer. He's the best. He was actually referred to me by, I have to say this, Donald Passman, who wrote all of the books on all you need to know about the music business. Donald Passman spoke to me personally and sent me my lawyer. So from the beginning, I was getting those signs like, you're going to be good, you're going to be great, you're going to be great. Yeah. So come to find out, he examines the papers. He has me scan them and send them to him over the computer. And he's like, no, they're not trying to sue you. They're asking you for permission to keep your songs on the streaming sites and where you want your royalties sent and all of that stuff. And I'm like, oh, don't be, no. Yeah, I'm like, don't be did all of that. But they're like, no, they need written consent from you, the artist, because now you have crossed over. And I'll never forget my lawyer saying to me, congratulations, you are now a mainstream artist. And I'm like, no, and I'm like, and see, that's the thing. And we're talking as artists. I did not know because I'm like, well, where the fuck is my Grammy? I ain't on no damn, I ain't on no top 100 chart. Don't nobody in America, I'm like, there's so much that has to happen. He's like, no, this is the legality of, this is the legal side of what happens. You are a mainstream artist. They recognize you as a mainstream artist. And I was just like, all from a newspaper, David, all from a newspaper. Wow. Yeah. See how God works? Yeah, it was crazy. So now, moving right along, let's stay there. You are a musician, a recording artist, and phenomenal. I urge everyone to listen to everything that you have done. And I'm going to make sure all the links are under this video so they can find everything easily and accessibly. Please tell us about King David, the artist, and how it got started, how you got started, and when you first picked up a pen. Because
Okay, let's start from where I first picked up a pen. Yeah. So I was 10 years old. Wow. So really, I picked up a pen at about 7, not to make music, but to make poetry. I was always a wordsmith, and my dad suggested that I start writing poems. He said he used to write them. So I started writing them and I showed them to him. From that, it led me into making music. I was in choir and different things. And funny enough, at the time I was singing. Can't do that no more. Don't ask me to hold no note because it's not gonna happen.
No, but I was puberty,
absolutely. Okay. Voice changed, and then at that time I stopped doing chorus. That's a whole another egg of trying to blend in. So I didn't want to be the choir boy. So I left that alone. But I didn't learn my voice once it changed. But yeah, so I was singing at the time. Had a group called The Hotness. That was our name. It was me and some of my cousins. I was like the ringleader. It's always that one that get everybody to get up and do it. Yep. I'd be on phone calls with them, putting them on speaker, like, all right, sing your verse. I'm gonna record it. I got my cassette player with the microphone. I got it up to listen, we would make it happen. But that's where I started out. From the time my voice changed, I kind of like left it alone. Then becoming, growing up, becoming an adult, I was always interested in rap. I always really loved to articulate other people's raps when I would be listening to music. I was always into lyricism and just the art of lyricism in general. But I didn't feel like there was space for me to be a rapper. Oh. I'm 18 in 2008. Y'all do the math. Y'all think of where we are in time. So that didn't seem like a thing for me. I had cousins rapping around me. My first cousin specifically was, trying to be a rapper. Yeah. And I always had it in the back of my mind that I would want to try that. I always said, hey, cuz maybe we should write a song one day together, but I never pushed myself to do it because I didn't think there was a space for me. Wow. Now, coming around to when I was on Triangle, starting that out and really garnering a name for that, and people becoming familiar with who I am, I would use my social media to express myself artistically. So I would do Triller videos, but they wouldn't just be me holding the camera, and I would go full on production and spend hours making these into these things. And that for me was this thing, okay, well, I enjoy being creative. I enjoy, you know, creating these visual concepts. Maybe I should consider rapping again. Because at this time now I have a trans friend, a trans woman who's rapping, and I have an admiration for her doing it. So now my head is in a different space about picking up a pen again.
Yes.
So she actually encouraged me to write my first song, which was Daddy. It's on my first album. But yeah, from there I just kept going, and I just kept writing, and I kept writing, and I kept writing. And then at that point I just decided that I was going to try something. I was going to try to go back to making music. I couldn't be a singer anymore, but I wanted to rap, and I was going to develop that ability, you know? So that's how we got here.
You know, that is that, like, you know, like when I think about that and think about you and think about what I have heard, because the first thing I heard was He Bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I flipped, like I was telling, because my producer at that time, I was telling my producer, I was telling like all my music people that I'm like, listen, y'all got to get into this. Like it was so, it was executed with such precision.
Thank you.
Not, it wasn't timing, transition, changes, like literally, when I tell you, you literally made love to that beat. Like you rode that beat. Like it just was like, and then it wasn't just like, you know, because you see some artists when they start, it's like, it's slow. They will say a couple things and leave space in a track because they don't know what to fill it with. Not you, not you. That track was, it was filled all the way through. And that was something as an artist myself that I admired, because I was like, he leaves no space. He makes sure that you stay with him on this gambit and this ride of emotions and this story that he's telling. He makes sure you're with him, and he'll even do things with his voice that kind of ask the listener, are you with me? Are you with me?
Correct.
And I like it just, I'm tripping right now because I can hear it. I can hear you in my head. And it's so crazy that you're like, oh, I used to sing it. I put it down because your voice is so recognizable. It's so, like, it's so, you're so welcome. It is so distinguished. I remember being in the studio myself, and you know, my voice is very unique. And my producer at that time, before I met my producer that I love, before I met her, he would always say to me, Bjorn, it's a good thing that you don't sound like anybody else. Because if you did, you would only get typecasted kind of work like that. They would try to put, and if that artist or wasn't doing anything, it'd be like, oh, well, you're the next this person. And he would always tell me, you're so lucky that your voice is so unique. But just like you, puberty happened, my voice didn't change per se, but I still had to learn my voice. I had to learn my sound and how to place my vocal, because it really wasn't something that I could just do. Like it wasn't, like people would always ask me, you know, even when I was younger, because we have that in common, church, choir. And I remember being in church, and I was a soprano. I was a soprano at 10. So I remember the church frowning upon that. Like I remember them frowning upon, you know, the fact that I was a boy soprano. So they forced me into the tenor section and forced me to sing tenor. And it kind of did a number on my mind until I got older. I was singing tenor all the way up into college. And I never, and even though I would hear, and that was the thing, I would hear all these things and extra things, and I could sing soprano, alto, and tenor. So it was like, and the crazy thing was, even in college, they made me the director. I was one of the youngest directors of our gospel choir ever. I got it as a freshman. And it was like, so clearly they could see that there were other things. But I remember one morning we had this brunch, and I started off too high for tenor. And I was not aware, because even with trauma, we lock things away, and that even affects our voices. So I started too high and then had to come down. And I'll never forget my co-director. She was like, you started too high. I was like, I know. Like, I was like, but I don't know what I was doing. Like, it was that moment where you start to see your greatness, where it starts to shine and you start to look at it. So with all that being said, fast forward to today, you now have an album on iTunes that's in the top 10 for hip hop albums ever, like, of, you know, and then you're number 64 in all genres. Like, it just doesn't happen, is what I'm saying. There's a lot of intention. There's a lot of craft. So even in your poetry, what was it like? Like, what were some of the things you talked about?
I talked about growing up. I've always been a deeper spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So I always needed to real time express what it was I was feeling or going through. So I use poetry in that way to express myself. Lots of things about life, lots of things once I started having love experience. I wrote a lot of poetry about love.
Yeah.
When you lose somebody, honoring them in poetry, that was like my thing. I was always the person who came up and read something at the funeral, you know, if it was a loved one of mine. So yeah, I use my poetry to express, very much like how music works, you know. So it just was a very honest transition of how can I share my poetry with people in a way that's digestible. How can they receive this? Not just the people who are snappers and are coming here for my poetry, because that's what I used to put on Facebook. I share my poetry, but it was how can I put this in music form that it's engaging and you can get the message, you know? So yeah.
Interesting, because it started off as love, and I'm with you, and that's something I would really do. Is it still on Facebook? Because I think I would love to read that stuff.
Yeah, I'll share some of my poetry with you. I'll send you links.
Read that stuff, and before I have to tell everybody, before I read it though, you're gonna have to copyright it. I don't play no games. I don't read nothing. Like, make sure, and I'm not saying that you don't have it copywritten, but I'm just saying, you know, I don't play no games because the legal matter. But no, but so you started off with love. You know where I'm going. I hope you do. So you start off with love, and then you get to Three's Company.
Baby be a hoe, gonna sit it on the floor. Yes.
Give me a little more. Give me a little more.
If you wanna get with me, then you gotta be a G. Give it to you if you like. We can do just what you like. I'ma break you through the night. Be a good girl. Take that pipe. Go. You know? Yes, ma'am.
Get out! I'm such a girl. I'm like, it makes me squeal.
Yes.
Oh my God! Like, it's so good. Like, it's so
Thank
good.
you.
Like that type of man. Like that,
Thank
you
you.
are that type of man. I have
am that type of man.
seen you. Like, you're that type of man. There's a mystique to you. Like, you just, yeah. And what I love is that even with the mystique and the sexiness and the muscles, that brain, baby, that brain.
It's the magic piece.
Yes. And it really, like, it talks to everyone. It speaks to everyone. It is so universal. And I'm loving that you are having success being an artist that you never thought you could be.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Craziness. So tell me, are you an only child?
So I am a half only child.
Okay.
So I'm my mother's only child. I grew up in her household, but I have 6 siblings.
Okay.
I have 4 biological siblings.
Right.
And 2 blended siblings.
Okay.
But everybody's been in the bunch since I was at least born to the last one. I was about 5 when my dad met my stepmother and I met her daughter. So yeah.
Wow, that's a long time. Because I asked you that because, like, you are very family oriented. I see, you know, you take trips, and I'm going, there's a reason this ties into the music. You take trips with your family, and I saw your father, and I saw the boys that were younger, your younger brothers, and then fast forward to, you know, because I stay in your Insta stories. I think we all do. So fast forward to your Insta stories and your new project, Fornication Under the Consent of the King, is being played, and all of your family is singing all them, yeah, girl, we gonna do this like this. Will you take this dick? Like, I'm like, oh my God, like, yo, everybody's singing it as you casually drive in a van island somewhere, because y'all on an island somewhere. So y'all just driving in the van, and y'all just, and the boys are, take this dick. And I'm like, but I love the support. So
it's golden.
Yeah. So your family really supports you.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that feel?
Absolutely.
Like,
True story is that it took a long, long time to get here.
yeah.
It took a lot of diligence, and I only make this a long story so that it may reach somebody it needs to reach.
Right.
There's a long portion of my life that I fought for my identity, just as a LGBT man. My father was a pastor. He's not a pastor anymore, and that shifted a lot of how our relationship and how he feels he has to show up in the world looks. But there's a certain diligence I had, and a certain patience, and a certain self-preservation I carried through everything that I think is what brought everything full circle. So anybody else out there who is struggling to find their place in their family unit, or they want the love of their family, they feel that attachment, but they don't feel totally accepted, stand in yourself. Be as respectful as you can to others and to yourself. If people aren't respecting you, take a few paces back, but don't shut yourself completely off, because you're not doing the job that you want the final outcome to be. But yeah, it took time. And my 31st birthday, which was also my album release party,
Yes.
was the first time my father had ever seen me as who King David is.
Right.
That was something my dad kind of, just looked the other way, and we just, went about our business. But for him to be able to come to that event and see how people receive me, receive my music, and just who I've become, and the relationships I've built with people, and him to be able to see a certain admiration or see himself in a lot of these things, it was very gratifying. So one, I just wanted to encourage anybody by giving y'all that full story of how that all looked, instead of just, oh, you have parents who support you and that's great. It wasn't always that way. But it feels amazing to have that, to be the bisexual. I use the word gay because it's an umbrella term, and it feels very like you're not hanging on to you something, or I'm okay with my sexuality. But to be the gay brother, and me being able to talk to my brothers about the niggas I'm dating, and they talk to me about the girls they dating, and for us to be able to listen to this music, and for y'all to be able to get into the vibes, and just, it's not awkward or weird or anything. It's a vibe. My youngest brother, who is like, he's the baby twin, he's 14 years younger than me. He's now getting to that age where we can have a relationship, because I've been grown for too long. He was a baby for too long.
Yeah.
But he's like my secret find, because I've always been unique in my family.
Yeah.
And he's the first one. God waited until the last one to create somebody that was so much like me. But just for him to even be like this straight version of who I am, but he's calling me back because he had like the sneak link to my album before it was out. So he's coming back. So look, I'm on this song right here. Hey, bro, he got me on the FaceTime. His friend in the car, and they both going crazy. And I'm just like, it's the most gratifying feeling in the world, to have that support. It really is.
You mentioned that your father was a pastor.
Yeah.
You know that King David in the Bible,
oh yes,
was a prolific lyricist and psalmist and musician, and quite loved by God the divine, quite anointed, and made mistakes, but God called him a man after his own heart. What I'm saying is, that could be one look at the name and the title of who King is.
Listen, you actually just hit the nail on the head.
Oh, okay.
You hit it on the absolute head.
Okay.
That's why I end every video with have a blessed, positive, productive, and last but certainly not least, encouraged day. Because beyond anything I'm talking about, the message is always still the same.
Yeah.
I am a messenger of God.
Yes.
Before anything else. God gave me gifts to serve him.
Yes.
These are not my gifts. My articulation, my intelligence, my looks, my talents are not mine. They're his. And God took me through a certain ringer in life that I don't take any of my gifts for granted, because there was a time when I didn't believe in any of the gifts that God gave me. It was news to me when I got it, So that's what King David is. I am, no cocky stuff, but just aware, I am intelligent. I'm attractive. I'm chiseled like David was chiseled. I try to bring praises to God like David brought praises to God. And that's what David was. He used all his gifts and abilities to bring God praise. It wasn't that he didn't have no things that was wrong. David killed a man's wife in order to, killed a man's husband, a woman's husband in order to be with that woman. You know, he had his stuff with him.
He did.
However, he was truly, truly a child of God and was protected and guided by God. And that is what I represent.
And, you know, I love that. You know, I'm not Christian anymore, but I know it from cover to cover. God loved David so much that he sent Jesus through his line. It wasn't really Mary that the Immaculate Conception. Joseph was from the lineage of David.
Mm.
He was from the lineage. It was because of David's love and respect and connection to God that he said, hey, this is the woman you want to marry? Okay, I'll do it here. And 40, I think it's 40 and 2 generations later, something like that.
That's new information for me. Thank you for that.
Joseph was actually in the line of David. And, you know, I love that we can talk like that, because for some reason, especially in my childhood, they didn't understand my flair, my homosexuality, my effeminacy, my use of every single crayon in my coloring book or coloring box, but still, you know, be a child of God. Like that, like even with my work, I have done what I have done because God has been in it from the beginning.
Absolutely.
You know, like from the beginning, and it just continues to flourish. But you know, that's a powerful name to have, and to also follow in those footsteps. I was told even when I was younger, you're going to be a psalmist like David, and the first thing I said was, Lord, don't let me, I don't want to be like him, because he did a whole bunch of other stuff. But you know, I have done things. And God still shows up with that I love you with a perfect love. So is spirituality a really big thing with you? Because I know you said you're a messenger of God. Do you claim a religion?
I do. I mean, that's a complicated subject. Especially my dad is no longer a Christian. My dad has always been a source of my information and what I understand about the world. So that makes things a bit more light, but I still claim to, if I pick a title, I would call myself Christian. I pray to God and Jesus. But I'm much more of a spiritual person than I am a religious person at this stage in my life. Spirituality has been what set me free. But yes, I'm extremely, extremely spiritual. My life is through my spirit. Everything I choose to do or don't do is a spiritual choice.
I had a lot of negativity happen to me, and I was a child, and I had adults that were trying to, like I said this in my
height.
Okay, no problem. But I had adults in my childhood that were trying to bury me. They treated me like I was something that belonged in the ground. So of course, I left Christianity, but it was also because I don't like hypocrisy. I come from a family on my mother's side. All of her sisters, she has 2 sisters, 2 brothers. One brother is gone because of HIV and AIDS complications, but all of the uncles and aunts, all 4 of them were gay and lesbian. So you would think that when they saw me coming up, because I knew what I was from like maybe 2, 3, 4, and instead of embracing me and showing me the ropes, they were born again. They were, you know, shedding this light. They were doing all of these things, and they attacked me and made fun of me. And these are the people that are supposed to be the closest to you, your family, your blood, part of your lineage, part of your clan. And I'll never forget, I was young, and they were like, you're going to end up in a dress, like you're going to end up selling, you know, cigars and cigarettes in a club. Like they would say things to me like that, and I can still hear it in my ears as a grown man of almost 40 years old. I'll be 40 this year. But it was so funny because that trauma, thank God for 15 years of therapy, but that trauma hindered me from, you know, starting my career much earlier. When I went to Paris,
Absolutely.
yeah, when I went to Paris, they were telling me your bone structure, your body structure, your height, your everything, you need to be doing the women's shows. And
Yeah.
it wasn't anything funny about it. It was, this is your body. You came to be a model. This is your body. You are not that which is the big robust, no, you are delicate and you will make a lot of money if you lean into it. And I resisted it. And it made me sick, and I came home, and only to 15, 16, 17 years later, step into my purpose and be who I am. And now I'm in dresses and wigs and and I believe in divine timing. I also like the fact that now I'm doing it because now I own it. And so I own my likeness, I own my intellectual property. That's good. But I think about how much further I could have been in my career had I not carried the trauma from Philadelphia, because I too am a Philadelphian, all the way to France. And they weren't even there with me. And I'm worried about what they'll say and do. So anyway.
But listen, my queen, I've been in the same places you have with that. And the truth of the matter is there's somebody out there that'll be watching us that will feel the same way.
Yeah.
And there is purpose in every last thing you could think of that you didn't do in this time. And thing is, you're here now.
Yeah.
And that's the testimony that somebody else can take from.
Yeah.
And that's part of what your purpose is.
Yeah.
It's not to just be a person who got there, but to be a person who can be a testimony for someone else who's trying to. Because see, when you see someone turn 18 and they straight to Paris and Fashion Week and here and here and here, there's a certain beauty in that, but there's also a certain inaccessibility, a certain unrealisticness about that being your situation. When you hear those stories about the Tarajis that came out here and ain't get no work, and now they're Taraji P. Henson, or this person or that person, that is where the true pudding is, the meat and potatoes for somebody else to be able to be driven by you, So there's purpose in it, as long as we remain open to tell our story, then there's so much purpose.
Yeah, I agree, because my entire career, the rebirth of my career after Paris and after I walked away from a very lucrative deal in New York City from a record label, I didn't know what I was going to do. And the internet, I always wanted to work on the internet. I always did. It's so crazy. This has been my brainchild forever. But like you said, it's a testimony, because I, like, even walking away from all of that, I found who I was and what I was. And I rose to my platform now telling my story.
Yeah.
That's how I got here. My life experiences, what I learned, what was going on. I gave the world everything I learned. And there's still so much more for me to say.
Yeah.
And it's amazing though. It's amazing how things, play out. And it's just like, oh my God. So tell us about your acting, because you are a consummate actor. Definitely.
Well, thank you.
Please tell us about what it was like to get into acting. Were you a natural? Because some people are just naturals at acting, and it just grows. Tell us about some of the projects you've done.
I would say that there's a certain naturalness that I had with acting.
Yes.
I definitely have been in the arts in general since a kid. That was like what my parents did put me in. So I don't know if you know what it is. You're from Philly Freedom Theater.
Yes.
Is where I started. I was there by the time I was 4.
Yes.
So I had been familiar, same thing as church kids. I'm in all the church plays, I'm in school plays.
Yeah.
But again, that was another thing that I put down coming into high school. High school, I put down a lot of my life in order to be one of the boys and not have to worry about being a gay boy, So I left it alone at that point. I stopped doing anything in theater coming out of middle school. Now, Triangle is truly what reignited a lot of me being an artist.
Mm-hmm.
I, at that point, been leaning into, I got my personal training certification, and I had all these dreams of building myself up and personal trainer. If I was going to be any type of personality, it would just be through being a personal trainer. Okay, well, you're handsome, you got a nice body, you'll be a good face of personal training. That was where my head was. And I had a friend, Thomas Mackey, Shout out to him. He just did the B-Boy Blues movie, which is awesome. I can't wait for you guys to be able to check it out. But he started Triangle, and this was a long-term friend of mine, and I would be over there watching the episodes. He'd be like, "You gonna watch every episode of this show?" And I'm like, "Okay, all right, we're doing this." But as I started to watch it and got more into it, then I really started to like it. And I said, okay, I think I want to be on the show. So I met Caesar on like an off day at one of Jason Bowman's events. And I ended up texting him and saying, I want to audition. So I sent him an audition tape. It was trash. He's like, send me another one. And I sent him another one. It was kind of still trash, but I was pushing harder. And I think he just saw something in me as far as like, we have to get this together. But he just told me what the character was about. It's American Psycho meets this, meets that. And he had all these ideas in his head. And I just knew I wanted to deliver, right? So I'm in my car the day of my first day filming. And I'm just like, going online. And I'm trying all these different voices. And I'm just in this place where I'm just going to bring it. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm about to just go. And I remember I go in there and I do the first take. And I didn't hit every line, but I was hitting the energy. And I just saw Caesar like, bitch, you better fucking act, bitch. And if anybody knows Caesar, I'm hitting him on the nail. But he was just like, he loved it. And I was supposed to be just literally a walk-on character that was going to be like a storyline tie. And that was like my deuces. And he wrote me into the show. So that's how I really got started back with acting. I took a few classes in college, but that was like the limitations of the limit to my schooling and acting was the college courses I took, which were a different level of serious. And so it really did help. You just kind of shake off the playing when you're acting and starting to act. But I really want to continue my education in acting. That's one of the things that I'm pushing myself to do this year. And you've been watching a lot of my videos, so you know a lot of the backstory to why certain things weren't, dealing with anxiety and all these different issues like that. But we're in a new space, man. We're getting out of our shells. We're not letting nothing stop us. People out there, don't let nothing stop you. Shake that shit off because you got places to be. So yeah, we're here. We're here and we're doing it,
Yes. And that is it's so amazing to hear you say that, because I've always known and always saw from you a triple threat. I see a model, I see a recording artist, I see an actor, like I see these things.
Yeah.
And, I loved it too, because I love when my hunches are correct. So, of course, I've been following you, I know.
Yeah.
So,
and you're also very intuitive by nature.
Yes. That's that shaman stuff. But I turn around and I started flipping through Facebook pictures. And then I see pictures with the legendary Terrace Love and, all these fashion photographers and model makers. That's what they are. I've known of them since 03, 02.
Yeah.
So
shout out Terrace Love.
Yes. Like he just, my God, like he like whenever he's involved, especially with a brown boy, it just comes out.
It's magic.
Yes, he's so iconic. So yes, shout out to him and the beauty of what he does. But like you have it all. And I love it, because I also sense a natural control, not necessarily, you're not gonna lose yourself. Is what I'm saying, because these careers, they go up and down. There are things that happen behind the scenes, and you're not going to lose yourself. Like, and I know that because of how you speak to us, you're following, how you talk to us about being grounded and knowing ourselves. And, like you just did, you encouraged and empowered other people by saying, it's no straight route. It's no straight route. One of my favorite actresses, Jennifer Lewis, she always says, the elevator to success is broken, take the stairs. She always says that. And that is her phrase.
That's some real.
What?
Yeah.
Child. They demolished the stairs. I had to get a rope. I had to put a brick at the end of a rope. I had to swing it and fly that shit around the roof and scale on the side of the building in the winter time.
Yes. Yes.
like
In flip-flops.
yes, like yeah, and no coat. Like no, they was not trying to. But you know what? That's the difference. And I know that they were not trying to let me have a career. So then
Yes.
I had to take and make a career. Someone that we both know and adore. You have a trans friend whom is the world to everyone, including me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to make it about her, but she, the first time I went viral, I gotta say her name. I'm sorry, Madison, T.S. Madison, Queen Madison. Like, literally, I had to say it because there's no way I couldn't say it, because what I'm about to say, she said to me personally, and it just, I was like, I've never, like from that moment, I've always remembered it. But when I went viral for the first time after Talk Gay with Faye shared me, Madison wrote me a message, and she said to me, if they won't give you a seat at the table, build your own. Wow. She said that to me. She said that to me, literally in my DM. She said that to me. And I'll never forget that, because she's a Libra, I'm a Libra. So, you know, it's very dangerous to underestimate a Libra. We will show up every time and show out, because it's just the creativity is just, it's just there. It's that thing, it's that energy. And I couldn't believe that. And then, you know, I evolved carrying that mantra with me, you know, build your own. And then it evolved even more, because it's like Kanye West said now, you know, when they won't give you a seat at the table, I don't need a seat at the table. I am the table. Yeah. I am the table. And that's really where I'm living right now. That's where I am living. Like, everything I'm doing is not to be a member of Hollywood. I'm not interested in going out there. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm literally, this is my career. Yeah. This is it. And the internet is just an amazing place for me. It allows me to do what I do in a very safe space. Now, I've been asked to, and I've added that to my services, public speaking, mentoring, things like that. But this is what I do. And, you know, I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to be on the internet. I never wanted to be out there, but this revived my career. It allowed me the space to shut out all the naysayers and just perform as an artist, just perform. And then by the time the comments came in, whether they were positive or negative, it didn't matter, because I'd already did it. Yeah. I already did it. So their comments were actually in the past. So I never cared. But now I'm coming to that point where I'm getting ready to pack my house up and my grandmother and my cat and leave the country. And it's like, that's where I belong. That's what I've been working for. You know, going to Paris at 22, I left my heart there. It was like, this is where I need to be. And I've worked 17 years on myself and my craft. You know, 15 years of therapy, and then I've been in the business for 20 years, behind the scenes, literally learning. And that's what people don't understand. I love how the divine did that, because he knew I was the type of bitch that needed to own my stuff. I needed to own it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm not partnering. I'm not affiliating. no, this is mine. So a lot of research was needed to be done so that I would know what to do and how to do it. And even with social media, I gave social media 6 years of my life. I didn't make a dime. I didn't make a single dime. And I had merchandise, I had music, I had all of those things. And I'm like, well, what did I do wrong? Yeah. And literally, I started to make, the first time I made money was when I offered my services as a mentor. And then now I'm fixing the mistake. So now, like, I'm actually telling my audience, oh, you can cash at me, you can do this, you can do that. But now I'm monetizing this. This is monetized. It was so funny. I was talking to one of my distributors today, and I'm like, okay, I haven't seen, you know, I put up 3 videos, 3 interviews, conversations, and I don't see them on Spotify. And they're like, no, they're there. And it's so crazy, because my attitude is like, okay, well, can you show me where? Because I have about 120 more to upload to your platform to help you out. You know, it's no longer y'all are helping me out. to help you out. And they were like, no, we're going to fix it. We'll send you the link. We'll make sure it was coded properly. And I'm like, all right, because I have 120 more. It's just how I work. But tell us about fornication under the consent of the king.
Okay, let's talk that.
Yes.
So, for me as an artist, let me just preface this. For me as an artist, it was very important that I be understood as far as my ability, not just bubblegum anything when I first made music. So I made music like my poetry, music that connected to what I had been going through in that space in my life. Very a Kanye album of sorts, that's what my first album was. And of course, the first album was early on in my development, finding your voice, understanding all these different elements. So it's not my most polished creation, but it's one of my most proud because it speaks. If I were to make that a lyric book and someone just sit down with those lyrics, there's so much in there, specifically surrounding dealing with love and heartbreak. But, excuse me, from that point came Inner Space. And Inner Space was this experimentation of this middle place. It was in many parts introspective, but in other parts bossy, in other parts carnal. It was the what I felt was the representation of a full scale of where I was in that time, who I was in that time.
Yeah.
So for me, after that, I knew I wanted to have fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to make fun music, right? And it was Three's Company that birthed Fornication Under Consent of the King.
Yeah.
That was the first time that I really played with expressing myself in a brash way, talking how I talk. You watch my lives, I don't code words, I say dick, so it was very let me be me in a different way. Let me show a different side of who I am. And from that point, as I started to create, because when you start in a project, you have an idea, like a very loose idea of where you want this to go. It's a feeling. It's not something you can put on paper yet. It's just a feeling. And you start trying to find the things the beats and the concepts that make you feel what it is you're looking to feel. And as I really started to create, there were these certain themes, this certain bossiness, this certain sexual confidence, this certain personal awareness about who you are that was shining through in my lyricism on my tracks. It's what I was writing about. And from that point, I knew what I was creating. This was my step out project. This was the other side. What I wanted to create was, once I had this concept, what I wanted to create was something that felt like a sexually liberating experience, something that didn't feel like smut. This is not porn.
Right.
This is sex art.
Yeah.
This is you being able to sonically tune into something that makes you feel sexual, but then it's lyrical as well. It's not a brain dead experience of just your loins, but it's all the things being awakened at once in a way that feels different than what you're used to hearing. Yin Yang Twins made sexual music, but were Yin Yang Twins sexy about it? No. So there's a certain brashness meets the allure, the smoothness, the art intention that I wanted to create, and that's why in the end it was named Fornication Under the Consent of the King, because this is truly what I wanted this to represent. I wanted this to, permit you to feel carnal and feel sexual and embrace your sexuality and give music, because I like that kind of music, I like that very sexually bossy type of music. But it usually comes from women. I was getting ready to say it. It usually comes from women. Mm-hmm. And anytime I've been able to connect to it, I was turning on Little Kim, or I was turning on Kaya, or I was turning on these. I could go to Yin Yang Twins, but Yin Yang Twins he was going to give me a vibe of the energy without going all the way there, you know? And I was like, I want to take it all the way there. Like Kim took it all the way there, but I want to take it there as a nigga. I want to give dudes who think like me, who have that little spice, you know what I'm saying? But their delivery isn't going to be in such a flamboyant way. Let me give them music to identify with. And for other people, if me as a man could identify with Little Kim, then there's no reason why someone as a different type of person than me can identify with this. It's all carnal. You can choose who you are in the story or which character you want to play when you rap it. But nonetheless, it's a story for you to have a good time with, you know?
Yeah. My God, I love like that. Like, I know everybody's watching. That's the first time you really just started going. And it's because I'm talking about something that is just so innately you. It's so innately, like literally, I love what you said, because the industry leaves that to the women. The women are glorified for taking it all the way there. The Dojas, the Megan Thee Stallions, the Cardis, the Cash Dolls, the Suki Hanas. You know, I'm naming people. I hope I left a lot of people out. Money Long. You know, these just all these women, and it's okay. Like, it's okay for Suki to not only put out a hit about food stamps or something, you know, and be talking about, you gonna pay for this cat, you gonna pay for this cat, but then take it to Pornhub and give you another music video that is very all the way there and be praised for it. And I feel like, and I feel like, first of all, you've already said this, men are worse than women. We what? Like we go there, and more so. So to not have music that represents those times, and it's because society keeps trying to frown upon that. They keep trying, don't do that. Be upstanding. Be a gentleman. And it's like, who am I trying to be soi gentil for when I'm about to take down my lover? Why would I need to be soi gentil in that moment?
Correct.
Like, it's and that's one thing about you. Even in public, you carry yourself a certain way. You know, the bar is set very high. But when you get into that musical mode, that's when the clothes come off.
Correct.
And metaphorically.
And that is what we are as humans.
Yes.
You know, and that's why I wanted to make it, because this is who we are. Yes. We all, you can be as suave and demure and person and the way you carry yourself in the world, but you're carnal when you have sex. Everyone is carnal. And if you're not carnal around people, it's because you are suppressing something. So this is our truth. This is just as much a side of who we are as a love album. Yes. And when it's created in art, not in smut. So you can come here, feel comfortable, let your guard down a little bit. All we're going to do is talk about what you really do, what you really think, and how you really feel. Yeah. And now you have music to base it in, because what is music for aside from that? But to give us a verbal format of what is it that we feel. It helps us identify how we feel, you know? So I wanted to create something that expressed that for people. Sure, you don't listen to it with your kids in the car, but as soon as they get out, it's a freeing experience to take that journey. And it's done in a way that has enough punchlines and enough razzle dazzle in it that this isn't just about sex. Yes. Sex is just our foundation as far as our freedom. This is representing your freedom, but we're going to cover many different things. I'm going to give you many different nuggets about how to move in this world based in your sexuality, your sexual power, even down to how you dealing with people. Get your bag, baby. Own your sexuality in a way that you use it for all of these things. So it's about the art of it. Yeah, the art of sex, the art of freedom.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like, even as you were talking, I was thinking I'm listening, and I'm like, you know, whenever we suppress sexuality in beings and in our teenagers and in our, you know, lives, disasters happen.
Yeah.
Whenever we don't talk about it, then my sisters have a bunch of babies. You know, conversations that need to be had are not being had. So when someone becomes an authority, because you are an authority on this, you know, starts to actually shed light on what we need to talk about, It's amazing. Like, get this, I have a bone of contention with my family because I always felt like growing up, see, I started in the projects and then my grandmother became a teacher and moved us to the suburbs. So I had that experience as well. So what happened was I always got mad at my family because I watched all of my girlfriends that were white and Black, when they reached 13, 14, they were placed on birth control.
Mm-hmm.
It was expected for them to experiment. I'm gonna just say it. It was expected for them to fuck, basically. It was expected for them to get boyfriends, to make out, to go from first base to second base to third base to home. It was expected. And though that portion of it was not really discussed openly, it was understood. Like I remember my friend's mother saying, I don't want to know what you're doing, but here's the protection to do it, because you have to learn. If we don't take the time to learn, when will we ever learn?
Absolutely.
And people are going to get hurt. We're going to have casualties because when can we talk about it? And that's the thing. And to be honest, the only time and space that we've ever been given, even as Black people, to discuss it in our community is through music.
Mm-hmm.
It's through music. That's because then they say, oh, it's just a song, and I'm like, well, you do what this person is saying in this song. Oh no, it's just a song. I'm just saying the lyrics. And they'll be saying the whole thing, saying dick and everything. And then I'll look at them and be like, oh, okay, you like this? No, it's just a song. And I'm like, no, it's not just a song. You have one of the most iconic lines in your and I want to get it right, in your bio section. There it is. I just had it. Hold on. You say art imitating life instead of life imitating art. You see, I like that you say art imitating life, because literally that's what all of us are singing about. We're singing about life experiences. What we could have done, what we want to do, what we, and what I love about music is music allows you, it's a fantasy world. It allows you to embellish it. You don't have to come out and say it straight. It allows you to have rhythm and to do things with what's going on. And you create this entire kind of Moulin Rouge experience.
You said that magic word. This was a fantasy.
Yes.
Project. This is sexual fantasy. Absolutely.
Yes. And it's,
I mean, isn't that what city girls are? Aren't they a fantasy? They are this woman empowerment fantasy. None of us believe that city girls live their whole life like the way they talk about in their music. That JT over there chasing Uzi, but you're still gonna rap JT verse in the fantasy of what it represents and the empowerment that it gives you. And that is what this is about. It's about that same type of energy, this area that people don't allow you to talk about, to target, that you want to now own. And because it's nothing like it, it feels that much better when you have it,
Yes.
It's a gem. Yes.
It is. And you know what's so crazy about your albums, all of them, even Inner Space, once you hit play, you don't stop. They just go next to next to next to next. And it's so masterfully, mindfully done. That's the word.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. It's so masterfully, mindfully done. And I really appreciate that, because Lord knows I could wear as many dresses as I want. Like I'm a total dog when it comes to sexuality. And I mean sex and things like that. Like class is, you can have class, but right now I'm not having sex. Right now I'm doing my job.
Right.
But catch me outside of this wig and this and this straight jacket outfit that I would, like catch me outside of that in some low light in a room where it's just you and me. And
absolutely.
And I love, and you said the magic word as well, fantasy, illusion, because I learned this years ago, because one of the first jobs I had where I actually made money from my voice, you've heard me say this, was a phone sex agent. I impersonated a female for 2 years of my life at a call center. And I learned how with my words and with my imagination to build fantasies for men that couldn't see me.
Yeah.
So I got really good at it, really good at it, to where it was almost mind control. You had them. So, and my boss was a psychologist. So she taught us like literally what and I love the alliteration there too, because she taught us to have 2 adjectives for every noun. So I couldn't just say touch, touch my hair. I had to say touch my long, curly, flowing hair. Like I had to give space for him to, and that's the thing. Get this. Our call center was open 24/7. We never closed. We were open every holiday. For 2 years, I worked every holiday because we were open. We were talking to men. Women weren't calling. Men are visual. This was for men. This was for men to understand. I had one woman call and she was a lesbian and I loved her. Oh my God, I loved her because she brought a new way of fantasizing and fetishizing like this sexual experience. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this on all the men. Like we learn. Look at even with our adult film stars. I interview a lot of my friends, and it's like these people teach us how to be sexual, intimate, and ultimately how to fantasize. What the hell do you think music does? What the hell do you think music does? We had that's why we look at the oldies, but the goodies. And it's because it taught our grandparents how to court, how to love, how to be there for that woman. I'm gonna love you forever. You getting on that midnight train to Georgia and I'm gonna go with you. Like it taught all of those things. And now we are
even taught them how to be sensual.
Yes, it did. And like what comes to mind is I think of one of my all-time favorite singers, Toni Braxton. She said like on her Heat album, I believe it was in 2000, He Wasn't Man Enough for Me was on that album. And she said, I had never had a baby making song. She wanted a baby making song. And literally she came up with The Art of Love. And that and it was so amazing because Toni Braxton was sexual anyway. She was her brand was the fantasy. She always did in her music. So you got the fantasy of it. And it taught me a lot. Like it taught me how to go there. Like how to not be so closed off, how to find someone or someones that I trusted and just take off the mask. And I find that I love musicians and artists like yourself that say to us, you got that dress on now, but wait till I rip it off for you. You're gonna need a new one.
Absolutely.
And get this, everybody loves to be talked to like that. Everybody, male and female, we all, what? You saw me, you start talking your lyrics. I'm like, everybody, like, because we miss the one thing that sex was created for. And it was not procreation. It was fun. It was fun. I heard a gospel, one half of the Mary group. She was in an interview and she said, the reason that God created the orgasm was not for procreation. It was for pure enjoyment. So you need to understand that and get that. And I was just
and as a creative, let me say that for me, I see sex as an outlet of creativity.
It is.
It's this one place. It's like acting. It's like when you go act, it's this one time that you get to almost be like a kid again because you're not expected to be composed and be yourself. You're expected to get as far outside of your norm as possible. Yes. And that is, we're all old enough at this point to have had those experiences separate from our missionary to doggy regular position experiences of sex. Right. Those ones where you permit yourself to be something totally different or to come totally outside of your bag. It's what makes it feel like the gratification of the sexual experience. That's where the creativity, the fun, the exploration is, you know? So that is why this project exists,
Yes.
because it is an expression of all of these things, you know? Yeah.
And you know what I know, even as I see it in the realm of spirituality, it's going to be one of your best. It's going to be one of your most famous forever, because hello, we got people turning 18, 19, 20, 21 every single day. They need a roadmap.
Right.
It's the reason we even exist. Roadmap, go this way. Do this, do
Absolutely.
that, try that. You want to try that. Try that. And it's just like, yeah, because, and that's what I love about artists. We teach the world. We teach the world. And it's like, and I love doing it because we teach people we don't even realize we're teaching. We don't know everybody listening. We don't know everybody, but they're listening. They're listening,
Yep.
and like I even had an attempt on my album. The song was called Fuck Me, and I kept it cute.
I like that song too.
Oh, God.
Fuck me, fuck me, fuck. I know that song. Listen, I love your album.
Thank you. But get this, I was just playing with that. That song kind of got created in the studio. I usually, when I create, everything is copyrighted, everything, the beats are done, everything is created before I even hit the studio, because I am such a control or protection freak that I'm not going to even play anything in a studio where anybody could walk by or play after I'm gone that's not protected. So that kind of got born in that studio with my producer, and I'm just like, I want to play with it. And for me, it was a freshman attempt at what I was, where I'm really going to go on my next project. It was a freshman attempt, but people saw it for what it was, because even though I felt like it was very whimsical, people caught my brain and my mind behind it, because I was using sex as a point of healing. Fuck me till it no longer hurts. Heal me with it. And they like, and people, and I was surprised that people caught that lace in the drink, because I laced it. I laced it. And then they were like, oh no, wait a minute. This is like, and they caught it immediately. It was like, oh, you're talking about sex as a form of healing. I never thought about that. And I'm like, baby, that's the only reason why I had sex. I've been in health for 10 years now, I'm 10 in August, but that's the reason I had sex, to heal. Not just me, my partner, whoever it was. That was the reason. You're going to leave here with a piece of your soul filled in. That's how I have sex. That's why I have sex. Everything about me is about healing. In every aspect of my life, it is about making someone better. It's about polishing someone. If you have an experience with me, you're going to, we're creating a memory, but it's not just a memory. You're going to remember that in your body's memory. You know how we have muscle memory? You're going to, you're going to remember that in your muscles. And they caught that. But child, I'm gonna go there, because I kind of like, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, y'all thought I was joking. Y'all didn't hear me. So now I got to do something else. And I've got something else coming down the pipeline, because it's just like, it's supposed to be fun. Like, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be. So get this. I noticed that you traveled. You recently got back from where? That was Brazil?
Yes, I was in Brazil.
Yes, you traveled. Do you enjoy traveling?
I love traveling. Traveling is a way for me to realize the options of the world.
Yes.
People live life so many different ways. People show kindness and gratitude at so many different rates. And you go to these places and you're treated certain ways by people, you experience different cultures, and it makes you come back different. Yes. Like Brazil was so just transformative for me. And even the things that I've been talking about online, it just really showed me a different side of life. So it was, I love traveling. Yeah. I try to travel as much as I can and can afford.
Yes, travel. And I love it, because even when I went to London and then Paris, when I came back here, I literally, for 17 years, I wasn't here.
Yeah.
I wasn't here. I worked on me. I worked on my platforms. I worked on every single aspect of who I was as a being, to be able to leave again and not have to come back. Like that was, Like it, but I love that it made me realize, don't get caught up in arguing with this guy or this woman. Life is so much larger. The world is so much larger. It's more than your block. It's more than your, you know, your drive. It's more than your street. There's a big world out there. And that is, it was so crazy because that is what I wanted in life. And sitting in my room, doing these kinds of things, I attracted all of that. The world came to me, and it just was like, oh my God, like I didn't even have to leave my house. And I used to really, when I would be doing my shady moments, I would be like, bitch, you can't take this. And I didn't even leave my house yet. Like I used to always say that, because it was like, bitch, don't let me leave my house. If I leave my house, you really ain't gonna be able to stand in the wake of what I do. But it's so crazy. So listen, give me 3 words that inspire and empower you.
3 words. Wow, that's deep. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Faith.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Love.
Yeah. Good choices. Very good choices. All very powerful mindsets. Like each and every one of those required a certain mindset to be able to do them properly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So okay, tell everyone where they can find you online, although I'm going to put all your links under this.
All right, so you can find me on Twitter, Instagram at King David's World. That's KVNG DAVID, King David's World. And on Facebook, you can find me at David K. Price. That's where we'll have a lot of our more in-depth conversations.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Your face.
Not on Snapchat, so sorry for y'all who wanted to send me some disappearing nudes. You know.
You mean you didn't get mine? Wait a minute. No. Thank you so much for this amazing experience. It was an amazing experience to sit down as 2 air signs and really just talk. It was so great. It was so great, and I enjoyed it. And we have to do it again. Thank
you for having me. Thank you for everything you poured into me as a creative, as a spirit. And yes, I would love to do this again.
Yes. So ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the vocal stylings of King David. Say bye, but don't leave.
I'm right, y'all.
So did you enjoy? I hope you did. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and don't forget to cash at me at the Queen of Shade. I am your favorite content creator, right? Right. You want to see more of this content, right? Right. Cash at me. I love you. Mwah.
I've got my black stilettos on. Don't you make me take them off. I'm assuming first position. Gonna show you I'm a boss. I've been given 60 seconds just to put my thing